guys, welcome back. Today's episode 35, and as promised, I said I was going to do at least 2, maybe 3 parts to the Mark Anthony's Music Picks Progressive Classics, and I'm totally not out of ammo yet. I've got a lot more to go. So today I'm going to do 6 more titles for you in the progressive genre. Again, going back to like 1999 to the 2006 is going to be the window that I'm working with here. And again, specifically not progressive house, but maybe progressive breaks or maybe a little bit of progressive trance as well. The first title that I want to review for you is this one here by Michael Burns, and this is his North EP. It's a double pack, and it contains a track on there called Forwards. And to me, Forwards was the original like fluff prog. Fluff prog has been a term that's kind of been floating around the internet the last few years for labels like All Day I Dream and Shanti Radio Moscow. And I think this was kind of the original. It's more on the warm side, a little bit, bass ridden, a little bit heavy on the bass, and just not really aggressive with the kicks. The kicks are a little bit more well-rounded and not so much punch. Forwards specifically was featured in a Sasha mix in 2005. I tried to Google it and to link you guys to it, and I can't remember. I couldn't find it. I know that the mix started out with the Mary J. Blige Twisted Affair Luke Fair remix as track 1, and then Forwards came in maybe towards the second half of the mix, and it was one of the shining stars in the mix. Just really good melodies, like I said, warm bass, and just kind of unassuming, like more like driving music in the car, and not so much like a club banger, but really good. I'm not super into the rest of the tracks on here. They're not bad, but thankfully you don't have to spend too much money for it being a double pack. You can still get this for $5 to $10, and I think Forwards is worth it. Next title, a super classic in my opinion, is James Holden. This is his Solstice EP on Silver Planet, and I have nothing against Solstice, but I Have Put Out the Light is the one that steals the show here. Minor key, really creepy, haunted. It's talking about a girl missing somebody.
I weep because you are so far away, 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 because you will never know how much I love you. I have put out the light.
This was also featured on one of those Peace Division compilations. It was called Nightlife or something like that. It was on NRK, and that's actually where I found it, and my pressing that I got there wasn't too good, so I actually came and bought the original single as well. But this is huge. This is from James Holden's original era of when he was doing the progressive and the trance, and really like was in his prime, in my opinion. I guess maybe I shouldn't say that. I mean, some of the Border Community releases that he did in 05, 06, 07 were pretty monstrous too. Lately, he's gotten into the experimental. I don't even know what else to call it besides experimental. Some of the stuff is so obscure and tough to listen to on his more recent Border Community releases that I can't even say what genre it is. He did come back though. I will say there's a release by James Holden on R&S Records that came out in 2019 that's really good. It's the one with the green cover. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was really good. And the weird thing about it was that it was like 115 beats per minute. So it was like kind of techno, kind of not, but a really interesting release. So if you want to see, James Holden possibly turning the corner and going into like a new direction, I mean, maybe he'll make a couple more releases like that one on R&S and kind of revive his name. I think he kind of lost his fan base with some of the really intense, difficult to listen to Border Community releases. Next release I want to talk about is this Marcus Schultz. It's Cold Harbor Selections, and this gets no love on Discogs. It has a track by Probspot, which I always thought that artist name was cool, Probspot. It just, I don't know, just has, it's like a cool ring to it. And the track's called Blueberry. Blueberry to me is like the essential progressive house track. Like, you know how Ishkur has that website where he says like, this is the genre and these are the 5 tracks that represent it. Like, this should be one of the progressive house like representations, because it has like all of the classic elements, the melody and the reverb, and the bass line is just mean. I don't know what that's called, but you'll see that in one of the other samples that I'm giving you later on in this video, the Bent record, that one also has a similar bass line to this. I call that like the traditional warm progressive bass line. It's like the signature of progressive house. Love this. And I also, before I get off this record, there's a Solid Globe remix by Marcus Schultz on the B1. That's really awesome. That's a little bit more progressive trance, whereas Probspot Blueberry is progressive house. I'm very thankful that this vinyl exists because I play this a lot and I think it's totally badass. This one here, this is Chris MacAuley. You guys remember Chris MacAuley? He was like kind of the king of hard progressive in 2003 and 2004. He had a couple guys that he paired up with, so there were a couple like Chris MacAuley duos. This was MacAuley and Ajami, if I'm saying that correctly, and it's the Depeche Mode, Only When I Lose Myself. So if you're a fan of Depeche Mode, which I am and I kind of always have been, you might like this. One thing to note is Chris MacAuley is known for being punchy and hard, and this track won't let you down in that department. This is definitely high energy progressive house. Like I said, I've always been a fan of it. I think the David Gahan vocal over it is like well placed, and the whole thing just works out well. Pretty easy to get this, $5-6. I just checked it the other day. And here's the Bent record that I was talking about. It's actually on Chris Fortier's Balance 007. And it's Bent As You Fall, Micah's Swollen Booty Mix. I'm not making that up. That's actually what it's called. My favorite part of this is the vocal, which is really, really beautifully sung, and I also love how the violins kind of like weave in when this drops.
Like a star falling to the ground as you fall, make no sound as you fall. Wish for a place where you want to be. Lying still, flowers all around. In my dreams, I see you falling down. So is this how you were found?
The whole thing is just kind of like a emotional rush, and you kind of get this flush feeling as the song hits you. This is kind of a sleeper hit, but I did notice, like, if you start searching progressive house on YouTube, this will come up in the recommendations. It has like the palm tree picture, and it just keeps, it's one of those tracks that just like keeps coming up in my YouTube recommendations. I guess enough people have liked it and commented and shared on it that, you know, maybe it's starting to get some of the attention that it deserved all the way back in the day. Awesome record here. And finally, I've got a Tom Middleton record for you guys. This one really, I think, was underappreciated. This is Tom Middleton's Excursions release, and I found this because of Danny Howells. I've talked about his Essential Mix in 2007 many times. This is the, like, not really the first track in the mix if you look at the track listing, but it's really where the mix like gets started. I think like Pete Tong's like rambling and talking a little bit in the beginning, giving Danny his intro and such, and then like when the mix really starts to go, it's this song here, Shinkansen. And one thing to note is Danny has this pitched down to about -5, -6 in the mix, so it's kind of a fast progressive breaks track on its own. Danny slowed it down, and to me the vibe that it creates, especially with it being slowed down, is more of like, I always pictured like a New York lounge where the drinks are really fancy and they have like, you know, a little umbrella sticking out of them and they all cost $20, and kind of like I picture like Cielo, like a dark, classy, swanky lounge. Like that's what this is to me. Huge record. I think maybe 20 to 30 bucks. I think this is like a $50 or $75 record just based on how good Shinkansen is, but I don't know, I guess nobody else seems to agree with me. I thought by now it would have been bid up just based on the quality of it, but I guess you never know. All right, that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my Progressive Classics Volume 2. Let me know if there's any other artists that you'd like to see featured on this channel. I'm always looking for new ideas. And like I said, enjoy the rest of your summer. Have a good day. Take care.